This is all related to the Iranian-backed group called the Houthis, the U.S. government here taking these steps to designate these individuals and entities. They say there's a network here of front companies and individuals throughout the Middle East. They're operating in the UAE and elsewhere, and all of those folks now designated by the Treasury Department to try to freeze assets and stop some of that oil money from moving to the Houthis to benefit them. Guys, back over to you.
Okay.
Okay, so a couple updates here. So not only here more sanctions on Iranian-related oil transports, which is something that's been argued by think tanks, that's exactly what the Trump administration should do. They should focus on seizing the money lifeblood of Iran rather than striking, though I still think a strike wouldn't surprise me, let's put it that way. But this Hassett news is kind of interesting. So let's look at Poly Market for Federal Reserve or Fed chair. And because I really don't want it to be Warsh, but he's now at 54%. Yeah, look at that betting market shift right here. So Kevin Hassett just tanked. Warsh just moved down, and Waller also moved up. I still think Waller is the play here. Like, if I was placing bets over here, I'd be betting on Waller. I think slowly Trump will wake up to realize Waller's the guy. But, I've been saying that for months, and so far, everybody keeps putting money on Warsh, and I think it's retarded. And they made a whole video as to why. But then again, I'm not going to put it past, what's his name, Trump, to do something retarded. So, who knows? What? Okay, cool. So now let's go explore a little bit what's happening in the day. One of the things we're finding right now is we're seeing mortgage companies rise, while at the same time you're getting the Qs tanking on this no wet blanket Hassett news. The mortgage companies, I own all three of these right here: Rocket, Figure, LDI. So I want to be clear. I'm certainly going to be a little bit biased, but I do think that the next 6 weeks will probably still be glorious for these, as this MBS buy down does end up reducing rates temporarily. I am still surprised that Hassett didn't get the job here. So this does create some more Fed uncertainty, and I think that's a little bit of what we're getting here in markets. This is something we talked about. Let's see here, Fed. This is something we talked about this morning as well in the course member live stream. Let's just touch on a little bit of this. So Fed, let's say that Trump will not pick Hassett as Fed chair. So, Poly Market freaks. Let's drop that in. And let's see here. Oh, I should be able to just, I don't think I can embed. Yeah, I can't embed in this yet. It'd be kind of cool just to embed it. Oh, well, I'll do that in the future. Trump will not pick Hassett in the Fed chair. Okay, so my take here, markets still think Warsh is the guy. I think that's a horrible and bearish choice. In fact, I made a whole video on it. Let's see. Federal Reserve, Trump, Warsh. Let me see here. I want to try to find where my video was on it. Because it was when he did the interview with him. So Trump interviews Waller. It was December 19th. Okay, so let's go back to December 19th. I think it was this. Let me see here. Okay. Yeah, if this was the right one, I'd like to link it so you could all see it. Warsh? Yes. Yeah. This is the video where I absolutely destroy Kevin Warsh. I'm going to change the title just to make it a little bit easier to find. So I'm going to go, we'll just call it, come on. Sometimes it doesn't let me. We're having trouble saving your video. This is stupid. There we go. Trump picking Kevin Warsh for Fed chair would be a disaster. Okay. There. That way it's nice and easy, and I'll link it at the top here. Here's my video. That way, if you want to see that video, it's going to be at the top of the Meet Kevin app as well on the data page for today. But I do think it's worth getting educated on why I think Kevin Warsh is a disaster. And if you watch this video, you'll actually look at these betting market odds and you'll be like, well, that's stupid. I think a logical person would say that Warsh should have a 0% chance. But betting markets don't seem to agree with that. So, oh well. Okay. Now, it's also worth knowing that right now, the other uncertainties we have no SEP until March 18th, right? So no SEP in January. And we expect, or I should put it this way, markets broadly expect the Fed will announce a pause. Qs have been allergic to 627, likely because we've kind of become used to rate cuts, right? And now we're back on this no rate cut trajectory. Trump may put a tariff on countries that don't go along with Greenland. Oh no. Okay. And Kevin Hassett was good on TV. I actually want to keep you where you are. Comment from Trump just now regarding Hassett. Trump says, Trump to Hassett, I want to keep you where you are. Remember, you can always get this in the Meet Kevin app for free. But anywho, yeah, this is... these are the Qs today, and everything's just like rolling over today, with the exception of the mortgage companies. Everything's rolling over on this this Fed talk. I think because people really saw Hassett as a wet blanket that was almost certain to get in, and he was going to shill for rate cuts. Hassett was almost a useful idiot. I'm sorry, but would have, pushed to tank rates without much thought, in my opinion. That Myron at least makes a strong argument for rate cuts. I would actually be happy with Waller or Myron. Waller or Myron, IMO, would be excellent choices. And if I were Trump, I would pick Myron. If I were Trump, I'd pick Myron. Because that would be the most aggressive person to shill what I want with logic, right? Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. All right, let's close some of this out. Let's go see if Nick T is saying anything about this. And then let's also get into some green tea here. So, Twitter is not loading. Oh, that's right. I keep getting reports that Twitter's down. I was going to see if Nick T had anything to say, but I guess Twitter's not loading. Is Twitter not loading for some of y'all as well? I mean, it's no problem. Honestly, I prefer to use any other resource anyway. Let me go see what the suits are saying. Dollar gains as Trump seemingly rules out Hassett. Okay, so oh yeah, Twitter's definitely down. So let's go to you up. Oh yeah. So the dollar is moving up. Dollar moving up implies lower rate cuts in the future, right? So Bloomberg picks up on dollar rising, suggests lower cuts in future, post-Hassett denial. Okay. I've got dovish commentary has been a particular concern for the dollar. Comments slightly pull forward expectations for Warsh or Waller, both seen as materially more credible. That's fair. Okay. All right. So, yeah, this is Cloudflare's error on X for you. Twitter is still listed as the host as opposed to X. Interesting. Oh, but then again, that I did go to twitter.com. I mean, I don't think it'll make a difference. Oh, it does. If I go to x.com, it works. Oh, it's the redirect might be broken. No, it's just pinwheeling on X2. Both of them are. Yeah, it's not loading. They're both down. Okay. Well, whatever. Okay. So now let's go see if the journal is saying anything about this. Let's see here. Massacre happened. Authorities shut down the internet. Then large-scale killings began. This is terrible. Gen X and millennials will inherit trillions of real estate over the next decade. Dude, they're going to sell it. They're going to sell it and buy stocks. Baby boomers and older Americans have spent decades amassing one of the largest concentrations of private wealth in history. Now that wealth is starting to be passed down and it's having a ripple effect on the high-end property market. $38 trillion. Wow. It'll be a lot of money for lending and agents. Condos versus co-ops, wealth transfers, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. The rich staying rich. Halliburton and rivals can't wait to return to Venezuela. Yeah, Halliburton yesterday, we saw that as well. They were quite bullish. Yeah, but there's nothing really yet on the Fed outside of the limited information we've already seen. Especially with X down, I can't see what's on Nick T's mind. Here's Bloom. Credit markets on complacency. Let's take a look at that. Tax bonds worth just 1 penny. Hand hedge funds, a painful lesson. Yeah. Another big failure. It just feels like some of these things just feel recessionary, you know? It's like, man, this big companies just going bankrupt. And then even some of the takeout loans are going, down like we've seen with First Brands. But anyway, let's see what the Doomers say here. Okay. President Trump expressed reluctance towards nominating Hassett for Fed chair, casting doubt over his search. Trump said Friday if he were to leave his post as NEC, it would deprive the administration of one of the most powerful messengers on the economy. I actually want to keep you where you are if you want to know the truth. If I move him, these Fed guys, certainly the one we have now, they don't talk much. I would lose you. It's a serious concern to me. His shill. Trump doesn't want to lose his shill. Basically saying the quiet part out loud. That's quite interesting. I like that. Trump doesn't want to lose his V-shaped recovery shill. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, yeah, and we might not get any pick confirmed anyway with these threats from Congress. You know, that's also worth paying attention to. So, meanwhile, less of an issue, but still an issue. Senators suggest they will freeze nominations for Fed chair until Trump promises Fed independence, you know, dropping the investigation, DOJ probes. What company are you using to get landlord insurance? I'll let you know once we go through this this new. We're going to a big master policy because we've got 10 different companies we use right now. It's a pain in the butt, and so we're switching over to a big master policy. So I'll let you know once we figure it all out. But that's what we're actually. It's funny you ask because that's what we're actively working on right now. President didn't address the controversy. We just got some quoted, and they're pretty good. So. President didn't address the controversy in his Friday comments, but indicated his selection process hasn't settled. Recently said plans to announce his nominee for Fed chair in the next few weeks. We don't want to lose him. We'll see how it all works out. Very interesting. All right. Sky Harbor is going to the muni market? That's interesting. I was just at a Sky Harbor hangar. Sky Harbor Group, a builder of exclusive hangars, is turning to tax-exempt muni bond market to borrow $100 million as it seeks to expand. Wow. Wow. Yeah, they're building hangars like crazy right now. Everybody wants a bird. You know what I want? Green tea in my Hulk cup. Or should I say water in my Hulk cup with green tea. This is such a hack. Now I don't have to get up for like 4 cups. You know? How to enhance productivity. $70 on a little induction cooker. Okay. So, what about The Economist? Do they have anything for us today? What the collapse of Iran would mean. Yeah. Innovations, energy, finance, inflating the AI bubble. Well, let's see what they're talking about here. Also, the info. Those are just IPO predictions. Yep. No more. Oh, yeah. I heard people were bagging on this MrBeast investor conference or whatever with Bitmine. I didn't watch it. Did anybody know about that? But yeah, no more coffee, unfortunately. I mean, it's not that I'll never drink coffee. It's just I'm trying to cut it out of the daily. Okay, let's take a look at this. Global. Oh, Fed Collins. Okay, no, that's not really an update. Yield premiums on corporate debt have narrowed to 103 basis points, the lowest levels since June of 2007. Right. So, in other words, is this complacent? I've been in Figure and Rocket Mortgage thanks to you, sir. Oh, well, you're welcome. Hey, hopefully we could get more hot picks like that. Love the Hulk mug. Still using my Freddy Krueger. Oh, let's go. Yeah, I really I like these plays a lot. Figures up another 9% today. LDI's up. Rocket's up. Rocket, I think, is at like 52-week highs right now. Whereas like Microsoft's going to be at 52-week lows soon, which is kind of crazy to think. And then, the Qs, look at the Qs failure at 627. I mean, this is pathetic. It's like the glass ceiling. I think it says Hillary Clinton right there. I don't know. That's probably a bad reference. Okay, so that all presents a paradox. Money managers don't want to miss out, but they also must accept smaller amount of compensation against risks. Complacency should be the scariest word in markets right now. Yeah, I agree. All you can do is not lean too hard into high-risk areas. For now, many money managers continue to dive into the rally, in part due to the prospects of interest rate cuts by the Federal Reserve and some other banks. Such easing could help the global economy navigate threats from President Trump's tariffs. Earlier this week, the World Bank raised its forecast for global real GDP to expand 2.6%. Policymakers must balance steps to sustain that momentum with efforts to prevent inflation from quickening again. The Fraud Balancing Act has been thrust into the limelight as the U.S. Department of Justice pursues the approach of Powell. Fine. I've heard a lot of credit managers talk about the fact that fundamentals do justify corporate balance sheets are very strong and that you're seeing reasons for credit spreads being so tight. Nothing priced in terms of geopolitical, but geopolitical regularly is an opportunity usually. Strong recent returns of fuel complacency, right? Companies are raising money, investors are flush with cash, spreads have gotten tighter, valuations higher, usually borrowers price deal with new concessions. Most of the outlook and news coverage. Blah, 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 blah. All right, well, that's pretty boring. Trump to announce 401k home investment plan at Davos. This is like in the other plan. This is like in the Republican proposals. See here. Republican reconciliation framework. Right? Didn't they talk about that here? Pretty sure they did. So in here, they said, there it is, the home savings account. To make it easier to save towards owning your first home. So that's where we first saw it. Somebody's like, Twitter's down. Yeah, I couldn't be more happy. Like, my happiness seems to go up exponentially when I'm not on Twitter. It's a cesspool. So President Trump will next week unveil a plan for letting savers in 401k retirement plans use some of their money for down payments on their homes. Well, technically you can by borrowing against it already. Oh, but you're going to let people take the money out. Okay, so that's a little different. That's cool. Any pointers on comparing an MLO? No, just like go on Yelp and find somebody with good reviews that you could get along with. You could obviously price shop a couple, but I wouldn't get too crazy on the shopping. Just find somebody you can work with who's gonna get the job done, who's upfront with you. Give them your paperwork rapidly, and your process should be easy. Most people lag on giving lenders their paperwork, and they're like, "Why is this loan not closing?" Well, because you're not providing your paperwork. President will put out the final plan in Davos. Suppose you put 10% down on a home and you take 10%. Wait, what? Suppose that you put 10% down on a home and then you take 10% of the equity of that home and put it in an asset. Put it as an asset in your 401k. Then your 401k will go over time. Oh, interesting. The money that you take out, basically that wealth, they still want to be in your retirement account. That's interesting. So basically, you put 10% down on $1 million home to make math easy. That's $100,000 that your 401k owns of that home. And if that doubles in value, that's now $200K of value for your 401k. And the idea is that if you sell that property, your 401k would get reimbursed. But that could then potentially also delay taxes on that sale until you draw, which could delay taxes on that sale until you draw from your 401k. What's the age of withdrawal? 401k withdrawal age. You can typically withdraw after 59 and a half. Some reasons you might be able to do so before that. Okay. 59 and a half. I can never remember that number. Let's see here. Well, employees are able to borrow. There are often fees, high cost of housing, blah, blah, blah. Trump cards. Get the spread down on mortgage rates. Right. All right. Very interesting. I'm okay with that. I don't see a big problem with that. All right, let's see what they're saying over here. It's quiet today.
Today, live from Post 9 of the New York Stock Exchange, Carl Quintanilla has the morning off. Today, the White House looks to strike a deal to curb the impact of AI demand on power prices. We'll speak with the largest natural gas producer in the United States, CEO of EQT, predicting a 20 to 40% increase in demand for nat gas in the near future.
Then AI versus software. A top Wall Street analyst with a warning about further downward pressure on the software sector. He lays out some names that you may want to avoid.
And it's not just power. The White House's latest push on affordability centers around the auto sector as well, which we've been all over. Former Ford CEO Mark Fields on what the government can do to alleviate this problem.
Right now, markets had been under a little bit of pressure. The S&P actually back to about the flat line. Had a late day fade yesterday after it was up about 0.75%. Made 5 near approaches of the 7,000 mark in the last 6 days. Hasn't been able to quite get there, but nothing too dramatic today. You see small caps outperforming once again. 10-year Treasury yield popping above that 4.2% level.
Yeah, let's look at. I want to look at the 10-2 really quickly. Kevin, I'm closing on a land purchase. Should I get negative points on my loan in exchange for credits towards closing costs? I'm planning on refinancing the lot in 2 years into a construction loan. Yeah, probably. I mean, it sounds reasonable to me. At 62 on the 10-2 spread. Makes sense to refinance a 4-1 mortgage and pull out $80K of equity to pay off my 5-6% student loans. I mean, you're going to take the whole mortgage and turn it into 5 to 6% then. That doesn't sound like you're getting ahead.
Making some dovish remarks, saying the Fed should remain ready to adjust policy towards neutral unless the job market improves. And she has some downbeat views on the job market. She says the Fed should avoid signaling a pause here without identifying what conditions have indeed changed. And the Fed should continue to focus on employment risks, preemptively supporting the labor market, she says. So obviously not happy or not satisfied with the 75 basis points of cuts from last year. Businesses may need to begin laying off workers, and notes that private payroll, in fact, may have started to fall in recent months using some other data in addition to the job data. It said it could continue to deteriorate in the coming months. She says, quote, the labor market can appear to be stable right up until it doesn't. Her approach to monetary policy, says, remains intentionally proactive and forward-looking. Inflation on a sustained trajectory, she says, down towards the Fed's 2% target. She does some work where she takes out the tariff effects. She says underlying inflation mostly reflects tariffs, and the effects of them will fade over this year. She sees policy as modestly restrictive and expects the economy to expand at a solid pace. Deregulation, lower taxes, and a more favorable business climate, she says, will boost supply and offset tariff effects with an increase in productivity. She's concerned, however, that disappointing news on AI could lead to a sharp decline in equity prices. So, Sarah, I think predictably we haven't heard from Bowman since September on monetary policy, and she's leaning against some of the commentary we got yesterday, which was all in favor of a pause and maybe an extended pause from 3 Fed presidents.
So does this suggest we could get more dissent if they do pause in January from someone like her?
It's possible. I think you make a good point, Sarah, that Bowman may be setting herself up here to say, I am not in favor of the January pause, especially because we don't get any more jobs data other than the weekly jobless claims until
Tuesday.
then. So she wants to be very proactive and has a lot of concern with the job market here, making some really cautious and concerning remarks about the outlook for the job market.
Yeah, great. Because I assume Myron will dissent for a cut if they pause, and so it'll be interesting to see if others follow that lead. Steve, we do want to talk to you about this breaking news that we got last, the race for the next Fed chair, because President Trump actually said this about Kevin Hassett. Listen.
I see Kevin's in the audience, and I just want to thank you. You were fantastic on television today. I actually want to keep you where you are, if you want to know the truth. Kevin Hassett is so good. I'm saying, wait a minute. If I move them, these Fed guys, certainly the one we have now, they don't talk much. I would lose you. It's a serious concern to me.
And just like that, the betting odds really changed for the next Fed chair. Hassett's odds plunged on Kalshi, and it certainly helped the chances of Kevin Warsh. The two Kevins is what sort of the president had been saying. But if you want to know the truth, he said, I'd like to keep you where you are so you can keep communicating.
Yeah, Polymarket is still pushing Warsh here, up another few points in just the last few minutes since we've been watching it. All right. And yeah, I'd like to get a Wall Street Journal reaction, but it might take a hot minute before we get that, especially with X down, because usually you can just go see what Nick T's up to, but whatever. Okay. So let's go see what else we have here. Let's go pop open some stations, see what's going on out in the world. Okay, so Politico, dumbest thing I've ever heard. Republicans amp up resistance to Trump's Greenland push. Yeah, pissing a lot of people off, but, you know, what are you going to do? Okay, then we have university without cancel culture. DeSantis got ousted. What is this? Carney to Trump, back off Greenland. What? Ryanair chief unloads on liar Trump in rare corporate blast? What? U.S. Trump is a liar who is historically wrong on many geopolitical issues facing the world. Fumed Ryanair chief Michael O'Leary said in an interview. The outspoken CEO's comments mark a rare broadside against Trump from the corporate world, where business titans usually aim to avoid offending Trump. Right, but Ryanair isn't based in the United States. So, matters less. I think Trump is historically wrong on Russia, Ukraine. He's historically wrong on tariffs. I mean, yeah. This person's just speaking the truth. Who did grant the president was right in complaining that European countries aren't pulling their weight. That's also fair. On defense, that's fair. Which they've been, stepping it up in fairness because of Trump. So you got to give credit where credit's due. If you were American, he would be a natural Republican. However, he would not sign up for any party led by Trump. I don't have any faith or trust in Trump, who has proven himself again and again to be a liar. It's not the first time he's lambasted Trump. There's a war with Ukraine. There's a war in Ukraine. You've got Trump in the White House. No, let's regulate air travel again, he said. No, let's re-regulate effing air travel. With stupid travel taxes. Okay. The air industry, I don't even understand how companies like United Airlines are at all-time highs for their stocks, because it's a very small PP business. Let's see here. Blah, blah, blah. Talking shop of idiots. A lot of this has to do with their local fees and taxes. So I don't think any of this is that horribly surprising. All right, whatever. Okay. Okay, let's see here. No confidence debate, boring, Ryanair. Germany's far right loosens its embrace of Trump. Oh, interesting. The AfD has long fought to sought close ties to the Trump administration, but public sentiment in Germany is increasingly turning against Donald Trump, in particularly of his talk of seizing Greenland and Maduro. He violated a fundamental election promise to not interfere with other countries, and he has to explain that to his voters. I mean, that's kind of a good point. You know, that is what Donald Trump campaigned on. I'll end the war in Ukraine before I even get into office, but within the first 24 hours. And no new wars. Wild West methods are to be rejected here, and the ends do not always justify the means. Wow. Getting a little bit of criticism here. Oh, the Germans. All right. BBC vows to lead Venezuela when the right time comes. Yeah, we'll see. Let's try the FT. France warns U.S. Greenland seizure would endanger EU trade. Porsche suffers biggest sales fall since 2009. Why are we comparing everything back to the Great Recession? Kind of makes you wonder, like, where are we right now? I mean, there are reasons to be bullish, there are reasons to be bearish. Oh, did St. Clair sue Elon? Yep. Where's the lawsuit? In a lawsuit filed in New York State Court, St. Clair alleged that Grok created an AI image of her in a bikini earlier this month. Yeah, just for research purposes. Wait. Oh, in one case, it was when she was 14. Well, that's wrong. Yeah, that's a problem. I thought a recent photo of her, because that's what everybody's been doing. Where's the law? I don't see the lawsuit. Lawsuit filed in New York State Court. I mean, I don't think we really have to look at the complaint, do we? Let's see. Because I guess, like, how do you determine damages for that? New York State Court. There's got to be some kind of punitive. Let's see here. I think Elon took away her blue check mark as well, or she just canceled it. I don't know. It's hard to tell. But let's see if we can figure this out. Does anybody know how to navigate this crap? They don't exactly make this easy. Search as a guest. You do not have to log into search. Okay. Party. Oh, no, I want her name. Let's see here. I wonder if I could just get it through this. Filing start date. I'll just go this here. Oh my lord. At least one character of the first name. What difference does it make, people? Both start and end dates are required. Oh my gosh. Who writes this code? Got it. There it is. So this was all filed yesterday. Order to show cause proposed with temporary restraining order. Ha! I got it. All right, I'm gonna download that. Ashley St. Clair lawsuit against X. Okay. Here we go. So let's see what they say. Turned a blind eye willfully chosen to turn a blind eye and even celebrate the sexual exploitation of women and children. The children part, definitely not good. What is this? Creating genuine looking, altered deepfake content of children covered in semen. Well, that's not good. Women stripped naked in sexually explicit bikinis and Holocaust survivors in bikinis in front of concentration camps. Wow. Defendant retaliated against her, so Elon Musk, demonetizing her X account and generating multitude more images of her, including unlawful images of her in sex positions, covered in semen, virtually nude, and images of her as a child naked. Such images are de facto non-consensual, but Grok and XAI had explicit knowledge that St. Clair was not consenting. X is liable for harassment. Wow. It'll be interesting to see how this actually plays out. Like what, so she's 27. Cause of action. So they're saying design defect in the product, which certain errors and emissions insurances can cover. Manufacturing defect, using Grok to generate harassing images, failure to warn, marketing defects, did not remove the images, deceptive practices, non-consensual deepfakes. Yeah, the thing is, AI is getting good to where it does get concerning, like, you know, what's real and what's AI anymore. Tucker Carlson to meet Trump in West Wing today? Oh, that's interesting. EXO is a duty of care. Unjust enrichment. Sure. I mean, like more people on X because they're trying to get, you know, generated content. I think at one point, I saw this stat somewhere. It was like, from memory, X generated thousands of images per hour of women, while other deepfake websites generated around 80 images per hour during the same time frame. Sampled. This is, you know, it was, I think the Times did that analysis. I should honestly try to find it. Maybe if I just, maybe I could like Gemini that and be like, hey, where was this article? Where was the article from that said something like... We'll see if I can find that. In the meantime, I'll let that run. Okay. Infliction of emotional distress. Dissemination. Public nuisance. Jury demand. Yeah. Punitive damages. She wants to be compensated. And then wants attorney fees. Yeah. And then all women attorneys filed this. I wouldn't be surprised if like a woman law firm reached out to Ashley and they're like, hey, you know, I don't know that I would have picked the phone number 666, honestly. That's kind of interesting. But yeah, so these Brooklyn attorneys filed this. Very interesting. Huh. All right. So it was yeah. It was what is it? Grok images per hour. Found it. It was Bloomberg. Oh, why is it not loading? Oh, there we go. Here we go. There it is. 6,700 images per hour, while Genevieve generated 79 per hour during that period. Wow. So just for comparison, where did I say that? Per hour. Here we go. Generated 6,700 images per hour of women, while other deepfake websites around 79 per hour during the same time frame. And that was Bloomberg. There we go. I always try to update my memory with like the actual stat. I feel like it's somewhat helpful. Okay, what else? Let's see. There we go. There's the Wall Street Journal article I've been waiting for. Nick T didn't even write it. But this we've seen. That's it? Yeah. Okay. It's not a lot of information there. All right. What about Times? Oh, Times. Video analysis of ICE shooting sheds light on contested moments. Oh, yeah? Where... Is that it? Let's see. I want to see. Oh, it would help if I... Hold on a sec. Got the audio functioning.
This is a cell phone video filmed by the ICE agent who shot and killed Renee Good in Minneapolis. The White House press secretary said this footage reaffirmed President Trump's previous claim, based on other videos, that Miss Good, quote, didn't try to run him over, she ran him over.
Out of the car.
Watched in isolation, the cell phone video might look like that's the case. But when analyzed alongside other angles of the shooting, synchronized by the Times, a much more complicated picture is revealed. More footage will likely emerge, but the currently available visual
Yeah, it'd be nice to get some more angles as
evidence
well.
still
But let's see here.
by millisecond how Agent Ross put himself in a dangerous position near of escalation. The footage does provide some visibility into the positioning between the agent and Miss Good's SUV and the key moments of escalation. And it establishes, millisecond by millisecond, how Agent Ross put himself in a dangerous position near her vehicle in the first place. About 3 minutes before the shooting, footage shows Miss Good and her wife park their maroon SUV in the middle of the street and begin honking and heckling. Administration officials say they were impeding and blocking immigration agents. Footage shows 11 vehicles maneuver around the SUV, including this Chevy Tahoe driven by Agent Ross. When he exits, he's
Agent Ross.
already filming Miss Good's SUV, not with a body camera typical of most law enforcement, but using a cell phone in his hand. It's not clear why. The agent's footage shows his interactions with Miss Good.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you.
And her wife.
I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning.
There's verbal jabbing.
It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking veteran. You want to come at us?
We see the agent switching the phone from his right hand to his left as he heads toward the front seat of his Tahoe.
I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy.
During this time, on the other side of the SUV, 2 new agents arrive in a pickup. We see Miss Good motions them to go around her.
Okay. Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car.
Over the next 6 seconds,
Out of the car.
we see one agent reaching into the SUV, Miss Good starting to drive, then Agent Ross firing 3 shots. Now let's go back and analyze some of the key contested...
Yeah, I'd like to just jump in and say those 2 extra shots, I have a hard time, like I think there's a lot of debate around the first shot, which is, right about here. It's a little tough to even see the angle of the tire here. First shot is already highly questionable. But those extra 2 shots, I don't know how you could justify that. Because she's clearly out of danger, or he's clearly out of danger at the point of the second 2 shots, right?
One agent reaching into the SUV, Miss Good starting to drive, then Agent Ross firing 3 shots.
That's the first one, okay? That's the first shot we saw. But these extra 2 right here, which happened now, I don't know. That's like an execution, the extra 2.
Now let's go back and analyze some of the key contested moments of the agent's cell phone video, alongside other footage to break down what happens during these critical 6 seconds.
Like, I think that the extra 2, nobody could justify. But it's not going to come down to the extra 2. It's going to come down to the first one.
Here, the agent's cell phone footage shows he's moving directly in front of the SUV, as it's reversing and rotating towards him, initiating a 3-point turn apparently to leave. Law enforcement officers are trained to avoid doing this because it puts them in danger and often leads to the use of force against drivers. The cell phone is focused squarely on Miss Good. She looks down, shifts into drive, and begins turning to the right, away from the agent. Cut to this high angle and zoom in. We can make out the agent's body and his arm filming. We can also see, at the same time, he's beginning to lift his other arm. On these cameras, we can see what's happening around Agent Ross. The other agent is yelling orders and reaching into Miss Good's SUV. Her front tire spins as she continues turning right. Agent Ross is at least a few feet away from Miss Good's SUV. He does not appear to move out of the way. As the SUV rolls forward, the agent unholsters his firearm. We see in his cell phone video at this moment the camera drifting off to the left. The agent is no longer focused on filming. It's at this point in the cell phone video where it first looks and sounds like the agent's getting knocked violently.
Right, because he's holding the phone in his left hand.
On the other camera, we can see what's happening. Here is Agent Ross aiming his gun at Miss Good. And here is his outstretched arm leaning toward her vehicle, which is barely visible behind the Tahoe. His phone, which is gripped in his left hand, flips over when the agent's hand lands on the front of the vehicle. There's an audible thud when it hits. The camera rotates up towards the sky. Again, while it appears the agent's getting knocked over, we can see that's not the case from the other angle, which shows he's standing with his hand near the headlight, his torso and legs away from the vehicle. In the cell phone footage, the agent's face flashes on screen, then it goes black. The other angle shows us why. We can see the agent's foot sliding, his hand bracing against the SUV, and his arm getting pressed into his chest. It is impossible to determine if this is happening because of the SUV's movement or the...
Oh yeah, and then they said that I guess he had internal bleeding or something like that, which I don't know if that's from potentially here, his elbow whack in his chest or what.
I see asphalt, or more likely, both. And what's very unclear because of the limited quality and availability of footage is whether the agent's upper body gets swiped by the vehicle as his left foot slides back. This moment is when Agent Ross fires. We see the other agent pull back from the SUV. Both of them stumble, apparently slipping on the ice. This is also the moment many have said looks like Agent Ross getting run over. And it does when watched at full speed. But looking more closely, we can see in multiple angles that there's a visible gap between the vehicle and his legs, indicating his feet are positioned outside the SUV's path.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting for courts to decide because clearly here, you know, she's given the order to get out of the car here, right? At this point, she's given the order to get out of the car. And so technically she's being detained. So if you're being detained, you probably shouldn't hit the gas and floor it. That's a big failure right here. You know, obviously ignoring the fact that we're also stopped in the middle of the road. But that's a problem. But that detention right here is what got her to say, nah, F this, I'm out of here. And then of course that led to the shots. Oh, did Active Self-Protection do a video on it too? I like his channel. He's got some good vids. Although I think they've had like an army of other people start doing stuff on their channel now.
Today, with great trepidation but an earnest desire to educate and help, I bring you the videos that have been
Wow, he's changed his hair a lot. He used to have beard and less hair on his head.
released so far here at
36
Active Self-Protection.
minutes.
I am across the street, and I've shortened it for the sake of time. Again, all the links are in the description, like always, to news stories and raws. And it doesn't show a whole lot here that we haven't already seen. And ICE agent. I don't think Agent Root woke up that morning saying, you know what, I want to make the national news, end my career, and maybe end up with charges.
No question of that.
I don't think that that's the way anybody did that here. And now we have multiple families' lives who are changed forever. I will say this. I think at the end of the day, just looking at the video evidence, okay? Just looking at the videos. And let me tell you, when I get involved in court cases, there is far more than just the video evidence, okay? There are interviews, there's forensics, there's all kinds of additional information here that can be make or break in cases like this and change the facts significantly, okay? So this is tentative conclusions only based on what we see here and what my opinions are based on my training, my background, my education, and my experience. Was this a lawful stop? I think that it probably was. I think
I would agree with, like, telling her to get out of the car was fair, right? So they had probable cause to detain her, given that she was clearly impeding the flow of traffic. I agree with that.
So that makes the fundamental actions of the law enforcement officers lawful. Was
for stopping. The shooting is a different question.
Was Ms. Good involved in a crime? Yeah, she was impeding law enforcement officers. That's right. It's a misdemeanor. It's not the end of the world. This isn't like a death sentence kind of an issue, okay? Right. Was she trying to murder an ICE agent? I don't think intentionally, but
I agree with that too. I don't think she was trying to ram the guy. I agree with that too.
That doesn't really matter, quite frankly.
Yeah,
what matters is what does he perceive in the moment? And
also very true. Is this a threat to your life? He doesn't know which way the tires are turned, right? Like, for all he knows, the tires could be turned right at his body. He doesn't know. You know, that creates an in the moment, oh shit factor.
When were those shots? Could a reasonable person put in the position of Officer Root reasonably believe that their life was at risk, given the totality of the...
That's what a jury is going to end up deciding.
...circumstances. I think the answer to that is yes. I think that was his life at risk when the first shot broke. I think if we look at the 0.5 seconds beforehand, when he received that stimulus, and then when the shot breaks, he's still on the front quarter panel.
Yes, and there's also a delay, right? Like, there's, oh my gosh, I'm going to get run over, to pulling the trigger. You know, that might be half a second, but it's still a delay. So that's also a good point. And again, you have to remember, the cop has no idea, the ICE agent has no idea which direction those tires are. Now, we could see her turning her wheels, but we don't know if the cop perceives that as the wheels turning from the left to the right or from the left to the middle. It's a lot going on really quickly. It sucks.
The vehicle, we can see here that first shot absolutely went through the glass and kind of shows to me that, especially as a right-handed shooter, he's still in the front of the vehicle because of the hole pattern there of the shot. And then again, shots 2 and 3 all came in one volley, and that again, it's time to not only start shooting but time to stop shooting, and that can take 3 to 4 to even 5 tenths of seconds.
Yeah, it just doesn't. I don't know about that. That's where I have the problem. And again, I don't think this case is going to come down to, you know, were the second and third shots justified. I think it's going to come down to, was the first shot justified? The second and third shots, when you're spun out of the way, that's a hard one to justify. I don't think even reasonable shooters look at that and say that those extra shots were necessary to stop you from getting run over. Because if the threat is, oh my gosh, I'm getting run over, and then you're standing next to the car, and you're clearly next to the car holding the gun at the side of the window, shots 2 and 3 don't look good. But this is going to be a case about shot 1.
Even 6, for that stimulus to go through and for the hand to stop shooting after the signal.
I just don't know if I agree with that. I think they'll probably have to get like experts and, what's it called? Like biological and neurological experts to opine on that one.
To stop shooting comes in. So I think that is, those number of shots, given that is probably a single stimulus. I just shot, bang, bang, bang. And then as soon as I saw her driving off, I stopped because we only use force according to ICE's policy.
Did stop once the car started going.
When our life is at risk. And it looks to me like his use of force was in policy. I do not believe that what he did here will likely meet the standard of criminal behavior. I think at the end of the day, I don't like any of this stuff. The whole situation is awful, okay? The whole thing I wish could have been avoided. And again, go to your legislator. Talk about, hey man, if I don't like the way that this is being handled by our federal agencies.
Well, I think also there's an element here of like training, right? Like, hey, maybe don't stand in front of the car. There's another element there too. But this is going to be a case that comes down to that first shot. It's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. It's there. A lot of arguments to be made. Oh, wow, figure, look at that. Over 12% now. That's incredible. This is also very interesting because this has been one of our calls in the Meet Kevin Alpha report. If you haven't joined that yet, make sure to use the birthday coupon before that expires. You can also, by the way, if you join the Meet Kevin Alpha report, then you could bundle up and join the ReInvestAI and get a better deal there if you use the course member code. Somebody says, or maybe she shouldn't have been there in the first place. Well, there's no question of that. But just like active self-protection says, just because you're blocking the road and committing a misdemeanor doesn't mean you deserve to die, right? So you kind of have to take it all part by part. It's going to be a tough one. All right. So what else? Okay, so then we have... How's Bitcoin doing? Still on its breakout trend over here. I do wonder how much of this, though, is just Michael Saylor's pumping. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a lot of it. Okay. Somebody says up 100% on figure. Good call, Kevin. Oh, that's, yeah. I guess it is up 100%. That's kind of shocking. That's a full double, huh? That's incredible. Somebody says it won't even go to trial. I doubt that. I actually do think it'll go to trial. Yeah, it'll go to trial. And the real question is the first shot. And would a reasonable person standing in front of the car, ignoring the fact of why he was in front of the car, ignoring the fact of why she was in the middle of the road, right? Giving each side a benefit of the doubt there. That moment, the question comes down to, you're standing in front of a car and somebody's hitting the gas. You have no idea if they're pointing the wheel at you or away from you. That's the tough one. That's going to be what this comes down to for a jury. That'd be my take. Okay, so what else? Let's go see if there's some other fun videos. Let's see. Americans are priced out of car ownership. Okay, what else? Cardone's talking about the Trump tax break.
Well, welcome back. Real estate mogul and entrepreneur Grant Cardone hoping to change the game of investing with new plans to combine cryptocurrency and real estate into one vehicle.
That's right, because he's pushing his fund where he does like, I don't know what it is, 40% real estate, 40% Bitcoin or something like that, and then debt. Maybe it's like 30, 30, 30. I don't know what he's doing.
How do you combine real estate with crypto? Tell us your plans.
Yeah, so
mind you, Cardone just wants to sell his whole business to Wall Street as soon as possible.
we're basically taking large real estate complexes that
And if you watch his videos, he doesn't really understand anything about Bitcoin anyway, which is kind of entertaining. He's just trying to jump in on the bandwagon.
have income on them and combining them with Bitcoin to give us a situation where we have both liquidity and illiquidity. The Bitcoin doesn't cash flow, Maria, as you know, but the housing does, and it's one of the lowest sharp scores in the world is apartment complexes. That's why so many insurance companies, very, very stable asset class, a way to protect your capital and get cash flow. And then you combine it with Bitcoin that is very volatile and very liquid. You get something that would normally do 12 or 14% that could potentially do 35% a year and be a very safe investment.
Guys, you're going to get 35% per year and it's going to be very safe. This is a cloud show.
We're about to talk with the CEO of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, and I'm going to ask him to lay out how digital assets will change and change the way people handle money. What do you think the future looks like when it comes to crypto and digital assets?
It's great.
As the Senate and the House try to zero in on the regulatory framework around this new world?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, Maria, President Trump and the administration is very aggressively looking at how the American people can have their money, their financial system stable and doing well for them, both in tokens and Bitcoin and the cryptos and also in housing.
The cryptos.
They were in my offices this week asking, hey, how can we loosen up this housing situation before Jerome.
Please don't tell me they're asking Cardone for advice. The guy who says, don't buy your own real estate, just invest with me. Like, I have always said on this channel that you should buy your own real estate before you invest in somebody else's real estate. Always maintain that. I still maintain that to this day.
Powell leaves in May. And also the tokens came up. And so, you know, the banks are fighting back on Coinbase, providing a yield on tokens. I think and believe in Larry.
Somebody's got a question here. Kevin, is Reinvest app eventually going to tell us why certain properties are more likely and less likely? Yes. In fact, once our valuation AI comes out, it'll actually tell you by sorting it based on net worth. So if you think about it, our AI is going to be able to sort every single property that's on the market in the United States by how much net worth it could generate for your pocket. That's insane. So that's really powerful. Nobody's doing that. We think the product is fantastic, and we're really excited about what the company's doing.
Larry Fink has said this as well. All assets will be tokenized in the future. We're looking at actually both going public with our Bitcoin real estate strategy and then tokenizing the real assets themselves and having both a public company and a tokenization. So this
tokenizing the real estate itself is not that easy because each property is unique. You know, it's easier to do that with like a bundle of securities.
This happened. I'm 67 years old. It's a new world of finance. For all of you seniors out there or older people, look, the world is going to change in finance just like it did in cars and phones.
Well, what does that mean when you say, because I think that's what Coinbase believes as well, that all markets are going to be tokenized. What do you mean by that? How does that work? We'll get a piece of one share, a token of one piece?
Yeah.
How does that work?
So imagine we just did a large project, Maria. It was a $366 million project. We bought it from Blackstone out of bankruptcy. We would take, and if we wanted to, just for keep it simple, we would turn that into 366 million tokens. So imagine someone in Canada or Costa Rica or Singapore wanted to be part of Grant Cardone's real estate Bitcoin hybrid, but they can't do it because they don't have access to either the deal, the fund, they don't live in the United States, or they don't have $200,000. Well, they can now with $1 a position in that fund, because the coin allows me to fractionalize the investment down to tiny pieces that make that basically democratize.
It's just tokenization is nothing more than turning it into like shares. You know, I don't think this is really a big deal. Hold on a sec. One sec. Markup shows, I believe. Let me check. Okay. Anyway, where were we? Oh.
A person that's not involved in the stock market because of their financial ability or inability.
Well, the president has lots of plans to try to make housing more affordable. He's pushing to lower mortgage rates, making it more affordable to actually buy a home. And we just spoke with White House Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett. He broke news to me, telling me that the president is going to announce this next week. His plan will allow Americans to tap into their 401ks to buy a home. He'll also make an announcement in Davos about it. And I'll be speaking with the president while he is in Switzerland next week in my special interview, talking about all of this. But mortgage rates came in at a 3-year low as of January 8th, 6.16% on a 30-year fixed.
And Donald Trump should be given credit for that. They were in our offices on Monday saying, hey, do you have any ideas? President Trump really wants to loosen up the housing market. I said, yeah, look, you got 2 million homes for sale right now. The new homes are selling for less than the existing homes. Why don't you guys look at taking capital gains and extending that from 500,000 to 5 million?
Wow. Is this Cardone pushing that?
2 million homes for sale right now. The new homes are selling for less than the existing homes. Why don't you guys look at taking capital gains and extending that from 500,000 to 5 million? That means most Americans would sell their home, not super rich people, but most Americans would sell their home with no capital gains. That needs to be expanded at some point. And then number 2, extend.
He's not wrong about this. As much as I think Cardone's a shyster, you know, that 500K exemption has been the same forever. Well, for a long time, you know, decades. And I don't think it's been inflation adjusted ever. So he's not wrong that it needs to expand. Up to 5 mil is probably not necessary, but you could probably double it pretty easily.
The 100% bonus depreciation that I know Trump loves. He loves this idea.
Well, it's going to have a big impact, by the way. I mean, you're seeing companies right now trying to write off everything. They can write off, you know, equipment. They can write off a whole host of things that was not possible before. That's going to be huge in terms of the impact on earnings.
Yes. So why not extend it to you? To the single-family home buyer. Right now, you write your house over 27 years. Why not just reduce?
Oh my God, Cardone. You do not write your own home off over 27 and a half years. You can't depreciate your own home. Holy smokes. How does this guy have 2 nickels to rub together? This guy's a moron. That's not how depreciation works. You can only depreciate investment real estate. You can't depreciate the home you live in. Oh my Lord. And when we're talking about accelerated depreciation, we're talking about investment real estate. And you can't accelerate the whole damn thing either, because you can't depreciate land at all. Maybe you could cost segregate 35% of a home, and then you could write that off, the short-lived assets by 100%. That's your accelerated depreciation, but that'll work out to maybe a third of the value of the property. Oh my gosh.
Reduce it to the first 27 months.
Okay.
It would be a huge thing.
Yeah, that is. I agree with you. That would be big. Grant,
this guy just makes stuff up as he goes.
I got to switch gears and ask you about, you're a California guy. I mean, much of Malibu, California is still not cleaned up after the series of devastating wildfires. It includes 2018's Woolsey fire, last year Pacific Palisades fire. What's your reaction? Are you still there? What can you tell us?
Well, 12 months. Yeah, it's been a full 12 months. They still will not allow me to fix my home. Okay, my home suffered smoke damage, fire damage. It's the last standing house on Carbon Beach. There was 18 homes.
Yeah,
one
whatever.
house permit. But if they won't let you fix a home that you own, you actually don't own the home. $45 million more than it costs to fix the house.
Grant Cardone.
Always good to.
All right. That was ridiculous. All right. What else? I'm going to write down the 401k piece from Hassett really quick because that is interesting. Housing. Okay, so this is Trump. Hassett says Trump may pitch using 401k funds to put down payments on homes, not borrowing, and that 10%, let's say, stays with the 401k. That's what's implied. And that was implied in this piece right here. And then Cardone vid was here. In the same video, Cardone fails basic depreciation math. He does make a fair point about increasing the homeowner exemption from 500K. He says to 5 mil, which is a little loony. He says to 5 mil, way too much. But increasing, I agree with. And I wouldn't be surprised if they try to pull that off. So let's put those couple notes in here. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, we're sending our aircraft carrier over? Now that's interesting. I want to see this.
Here to defend that position, Pennsylvania Congress.
Not this one.
Fox News confirming at least one aircraft carrier is en route to the Middle East with other military assets from air, land, and sea expected to begin flowing into the region in the coming days and weeks. The White House still leaving the door open, though, for a potential strike.
The president and his team have communicated to the Iranian regime that if the killing continues, there will be grave consequences. The president and his team are closely monitoring this situation, and all options remain on the table for the president. Only President Trump knows what he's going to do, and a very, very small team of advisors are read into his thinking on that.
Senior fellow at the Independent Women's Forum and member of the Council on Foreign Relations, Dr. Kanta Ahmed joins us now. Dr. Ahmed, thank you so much for being here. So the president is sending military assets to the region and all options. Meanwhile,
of Iran's corrupt and excavated economy. It is imperative the United States stands with the Iranian people, and I do believe the president will make the decision to strike ballistic missile launchers, manufacturing capabilities, drone factories, a number of other assets to begin with, which can be readily targeted by the United States without.
It's kind of like, oh crap, we don't have a carrier in the region. Let's get the carrier in place, and then we'll strike Iran. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Carrier on the way, or carrier en route. En route, we'll say. Carrier en route to Middle East. Interviewee here suggests Trump will end up striking. I agree.
So as thousands of...
Hold on, I'm going to go back to that.
Ground troops or any kind of invasion, which would be unacceptable for the president and the American people. Regimes don't die overnight, but this is a dying regime. And if we fail to stand with the Iranian people who are being targeted by snipers, shot in the face and genitals, murdered in their cars, meanwhile, we have an unknown body count which exceeds 10,000, some say 12,000 already killed. then we will go down in history as not standing up for the dignity and nobility for almost 100 million Iranians who deserve better.
Yeah, and that same Wall Street Journal report says that there is also a belief that President Trump could simply just be stalling for time in order to give military assets enough time to move into place. There was also this other report, Dr. Ahmed, yesterday about a phone call that President Trump had with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And that reporting says that the Prime Minister encouraged President Trump not to strike right now. And one of the reasons is because he's concerned that a larger conflict could be sparked as a result of a strike, which seems like a unique position for the Prime Minister to take, considering he himself has led the charge on doing that very thing. So what do you think about a potential larger conflict to be manifested after a strike and where the Prime Minister stands right now?
So a couple of things. First of all, while assets and ships are on the way, the United States has an extraordinary military presence and support from the Kurdish part of Iraq, where we have our biggest assets in Erbil. So we are ready to strike with imminent proximity. Secondly, nobody understands the Iranian threat better than Israel, that's been the recipient of Iran's tremendous proxy wars through Hezbollah and Hamas. And so, as well as the disruption of Syria by Iran and Lebanon by Iran, all of which has surrounded Israel with this awful conflicts. However, we don't know what's coming the day after in Iran. But I do have confidence in the Iranian people. They are highly intelligent. They're part of a 5,000-year civilization. Every Iranian that I talk to detests the tyranny they lived under 51 years, I think, today.
And that's the whole regime going back to 79 is what they're saying. All right.
Because he deserves it.
Oh, this is on Venezuela. Okay. What else? Let's see here. All right. Anything else in the way of money? Any money news? Let's take a look at this from The Economist. Greed has long been a catalyst for capitalistic innovation. Of course. I mean, people want to make money. But, I mean, I don't know if that's so much greed as it is people want to make money. That's like, goes back to the caveman instinct. Let's see here. Okay. In California, gold rush prospectors developed water cannons to blast hills away in search of ore. Yeah, that's smart. In America, the mortgage boom, banks built madcap loan securitization machines to keep the credit bender rolling. Sure. Today, energy and credit are two of the biggest constraints in the AI bonanza. That's like a miner's term right there. Energy and credit. Energy is literally a bottleneck. Gridlock, literally. That's fair. Capital is another bottleneck. Banks are up to their gills in lending to smaller, less credit-worthy data center developers. That's not good. Elon Musk, thinking outside the box, pioneered bring your own alternative to grid-based energy. Literally tucked in gas turbines and engines. Trucked in. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of smart. People are upset because they're like, you didn't get permits. But, you know, you just basically created your own facility. Okay, what's their bottom line on this? Frankenstein finance. They're not the energy markets, bring your own power, data centers, spillovers from the frenzy of innovation. We positive. Let's see. As for credit markets, they're in a good place to raise money now that AI investment can no longer be self-funded. But the spillovers may also be dangerous. Only a few firms are making reliable profits from AI, like HouseHack. If that does not change, there is a risk of a credit meltdown that could rock the financial system and the economy more broadly. The world will need a new type of ingenuity at picking up the pieces. Yeah, I agree. I mean, but this is just the you know, forever black swan that everybody's worried about. Okay. So let's see here. Okay. That was The Economist. Oh no. Wait, was it? Yeah, it was. Okay. And then what does the information say about this regarding Bitmine? Holding company for Ether, Bitmine is investing $200 million into Beast Industries. Pivot. You know, I heard a lot of people were dumping on this conference. Basically, Gen Z, Gen Alpha marketing pitch. I actually agree that this is probably like a marketing pitch for people to buy Bitmine, especially younger generations. Let me see here. What was that investor conference? Bitmine investor. Was it like a call or a call? I heard something about it. Annual shareholder meeting. Oh, here we go. Oh, it sounds like a Mario Kart jam out. An hour and a half?
I might, that would make sense. First, when we made our first presentation about Bitmine, because it really crushed everything else.
This is shilling for Bitcoin. Where's the beast part?
Formed Bitmine. I want to give you an update on progress about the alchemy of 5%. Maven, when it launches, is, but Tether, you know.
Hold on. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go to the transcript. Transcript. Beast. Here we go.
Confusing, okay? We made a $200 million investment into Beast Industries. I would say if someone said, what are you expecting to accomplish? If this was just like, hey, I'm going to make a $200 million bet into Beast, no brainer, okay? Because he is, I'm going to skip around. I'm going to jump. Because he is...
Wait. What did he just... There. Bitmine and Beast Industries substantial call option value on future consumer services developed by each. Bitmine doesn't develop consumer services. Oh my lord, dude.
Well,
Beast is brilliant for taking the money. Because he could honestly give Tom Lee the shittiest deal ever. And Tom Lee will eat it up. Because whatever the shittiest deal is, Tom Lee is just going to say it's going to 100x.
Skip around. I'm going to jump. Because he is the iconic content creator of our generation.
Okay.
Gen Z. Okay, I'm going to guess. Otherwise, you guys would be using a lot of slang I don't understand. Boomers, okay? So the thing is that you might think that we have gone off the rails. But that's not the thing, okay? Mr. B.
You might think we've gone off the rails. The comedy writes itself.
Beast is the #1 content creator in the world. And if you're not following how important he is, first of all, he has 1 billion followers.
Oh my God!
1 billion, like people follow, like that's reach. For instance, he has.
This is actually kind of a cringe presentation. I don't think he has an investment thesis.
The only in the next 10 years to get 1 billion followers, and he's created this organically. Nobody's more watched in streaming world than Mr. Beast. Okay, and think about that for a minute. On that event, we are super engaged. Content with them. And important content creator in the world.
Moonshot. They're calling it a moonshot.
Substantial call option value.
What's the valuation?
On any future consumer service developed by each. Okay. Now I want to read what Jeff Housenbold, their CEO, actually stated. Sorry, I'm going to have to pull this up on my phone. You listen carefully to his buzz as new investors in Beast Industries. We are excited to welcome Tom Lee and Bitmine as new investors in Beast Industries, joining our current top-tier venture investors. And we're not a venture investor, we're a strategic corporate.
Oh my God, whatever.
Their support is a strong validation of our vision, strategy, and growth trajectory, and it provides additional capital to achieve our goal to become the most impactful entertainment brand in the world. Okay, so we're helping them get to their goal.
Beast CEO is kind of a knucklehead as well. Like, I like Jimmy, but the guy he hired is such a freaking suit.
Exploring ways to further collaborate. See, that's the word.
Oh my
And
gosh.
incorporate DeFi into our upcoming financial services platform. So think about this. If you want Ethereum to be part of the future of finance, it kind of makes sense to have a connection to the most important content creator in the world. Okay? So again, if you were angry and you downvoted our investment in MrBeast, you're allowed to change your downvote. Okay, so I just want to explain the potential synergy. So you have, okay, someone says the #1 investor for retail investors, okay, me. The #1 holder of Ethereum in the world. Okay, we own more Ethereum than anybody, and it's the future of finance. Plus the #1 content creator. And it's cheap content.
Oh man. Oh man. All right. How down is he on Ethereum right now? I don't know. What'd they pay for? What's their cost on Ethereum? Let's go find out. Ooh, figures up 15%. That's insane. Let's go see how much they hold. Oh, let's see here. Investor relations, SEC filings. I got an 8K on the 15th. I got a 10Q on here. So I've got Ethereum. How much do they hold? Oh, here we go. Wait, no. What the hell? Well, I guess let's just look at their balance sheet. So, here's the business. What the hell? $5.2 billion loss as of November 30th. Well, that's got to be mostly impairments. Okay. What do we have here? Revenue from sale of money, total revenue. Revenue from staking, revenue from leasing. So they're staking, which is good. Cost of sales. Cost sales of leasing. Okay. G&A. How are their G&A? How the frack is G&A $223 million? And then down $5 billion over here. I mean, that's obviously gone up since November. Because November 30th, Ethereum was selling for, oh, it was like the bottom. Yeah, it was right here. November 30th, we closed at, was it 3,000? 29.20. So in fairness, they've regained about 10%. Oh, they're still down a lot. That's a lot, man. But I don't understand how you have $223 million of G&A. General administrative. The increase was related to capital raising, advisory, and consulting fees. Right, because Tom Lee's going to take some fat consulting agreements. I wonder if they have any of those. listed here. Employment agreement. Who's Chi Cheng? Who is this person? Is this AKA Tom Lee, or who is this? Chi Cheng. Maybe that's somebody else. Who is that? Chi Cheng. Oh, it's this guy. All right, whatever. What's he getting paid? This guy gets to be the CEO. It's hard to say. Where is it? Base salary $500K. Performance bonus. Executives shall be entitled to a performance bonus of up to $500K when specific metrics are hit. Okay. Long-term incentives, RSUs, shall be granted RSUs with target value of $500K for each year. RSUs shall vest in over 4 years, blah, 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 blah. I want to see the Tom Lee stuff. But whatever. Okay. So, they need to pray that they get some gains here on Ethereum. I guess this is a lot of eradication of capital. Where's their cash flow statement? Let's go look at cash flow. Oh, here we go. Here's the Ethereum they hold. 20, or what is this? Here's how much Ethereum they hold. And their cost basis is 15 billion basically. Fair value on November 30th is 10.4. So that's how many they hold. 3737140 times, it's like 3250 right now, right? Oh, I can't do that on the little calculator. So times 3250. Still down about $3 billion from their purchase. So you can see that here. This is roughly what it's worth right now. So still down about $3 billion. And where's their cash flow statement? So where are they raising money from? Here we go. I've got at the money issuance. This is for the year. It's only what? In 3 months, they raised another $7.6 billion to do this? Wow. That's crazy. I mean, people give these people money. So, you know, what's $200 million? Hand it to them to light it on fire. Wow. That's crazy. That's some crazy stuff. This is a crazy freaking world, honestly. Absolutely crazy. Whatever. Whatever. All right. What else is going on out there? Trump threatens countries regarding Greenland. I may put a tariff on countries that don't go along with Greenland because we need Greenland for national security, so I may do that. Wild. Okay. I think we can sprints ahead. Warsh, man. I think we could do a quick summary of some of this. That's the rate watch. Let's see here. Let's go break this down. Oh, I wanted to see this too. Porsche sales slumped by 1/10 last year. Weaker than expected demand. It struggled in the Chinese market. Well, the Chinese have a lot of competition for these luxury German brands, honestly. A lot. Okay, we saw that. Picking up the pieces. This was interesting, the 401k plan. There's Polymarket. This is the carrier en route, that's fine. Put that under Geopol. And then also Greenland. Trump threatens tariffs on countries that don't go along with his plan to strategically acquire, lease parts of Greenland. Okay. Then the St. Clair lawsuit. I mean, that matters a lot less. This we talked about. Venezuela becomes a quagmire. There's the 6-2 or 10-2. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Al Jazeera we didn't actually look at yet. Let me close some of these extra tabs here. Ah, here's a Washington Post piece I want to look at. Okay. Here we go. What is this? Mixed signals and suspicions fueled clash between Fed and prosecutors. Okay. What is this? The battle between the Federal Reserve, has accelerated over the past few weeks. According to half a dozen with knowledge of the dispute. Oh, this will be interesting. Last month, Fed officials grew concerned the Justice Department was preparing a criminal case against them when they received 2 casually worded emails. Messages sought a meeting or phone call to discuss the renovations. The emails, sent December 19th and 29th, came from a political appointee in Pyro's office, the Fox News lady. The messages struck the Fed officials as breezy in tone, happy to hop on a call. One of the missives read. This generated suspicions at the Fed. They opted not to respond to avoid informal engagement that could carry criminal implications. That led her to conclude that the Fed was stonewalling and had something to hide. Right. Gave them a deadline. Investigation centers on the renovation. Powell testified. Blah, blah, blah. Overly luxurious. Bloody, bloody, bloody. Emails did not indicate the existence of a criminal investigation. No response. Low-keyed it. We didn't publicize it. We did it quietly. Let's see what the post comments are. This is going to lean pretty left, just a heads up. Hypocrisy here is breathtaking. Trump's ballroom is already costing double what he told the American people. I realize none of this matters anymore. Truth, facts, and consistency. Lies and selective manufactured outrage rules the day. Like Stranger Things, we now live in the upside down. Pyro, joke long ago and a joke still. She needs to be investigated for the demolition of the East Wing. Ah, yes, a TV judge stepping in big time with third world style investigation. A third world style investigation. So the strongman in the palace gets control of an independent central bank and freely prints money. This cluelessness is absolutely clownish. She and her gang of clowns are playing with economic gasoline inside of a firework factory. How do they write this crap? Powell isn't stupid. He knows Pyro, like every other Trump appointee, is an untrustworthy hack. Oh my gosh. This is backfired spectacularly. Can we hop on a call from a U.S. attorney's office is up there on the incompetence scale. RIP. Wow. 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 So he says, Kevin, I was recently on a flight, and the crew received a bomb alert. We had 3 fighter jets flying next to us. The crew and pilots were pooping themselves. That's scary. I'm sorry to hear you went through that. You know that fighter jet isn't there to help you, right? The fighter jet is there to shoot your ass down if you go the wrong way. It's actually really sad and scary. Stay-at-home sons are here and they're not going anywhere. I just set my farm on fire. It was thrilling. Okay. This is what the Washington Post has on the front page of their website. Man. OpenAI versus Elon case? What's that? I didn't even see that news. OpenAI versus Elon. Heading to jury trial. OpenAI and Microsoft will face a jury trial this spring after a federal judge rejected their efforts to dismiss Elon Musk's lawsuit. OpenAI failed to show that Musk's claims should be dismissed. Musk has maintained that OpenAI had a specific charitable purpose that he attached 2 fundamentals to. And this will be interesting. Also rejected the argument by OpenAI, suggesting Musk's use of intermediary to donate seed money stripped him of legal standing. I mean, I don't really think that's much news. I mean, like, to try to dismiss a case like this early, you know, this isn't really a big deal. This isn't really news. I think that's pretty broadly expected. All right. Anything else? The Great Robot Takeover has some limits. Well, yeah. Despite viral videos, the statistics aren't bearing out the cyborg contribution to China's GDP. Their contribution is dwarfed by traditional engines. Okay. It's novel. What's more important? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's boring. Tillis is loud quitting. He shouldn't have to. Loud quitting? This is like the opposite of quiet quitting? 10-minute takedown of what he considers some of President Trump's mistakes, from the Federal Reserve to foreign policy to affordability. Oh, I want to see.
What if I told you that one of the best things you can do to
ads. Skip the ad.
That I asked for time on the floor today. I did want to say that if it was within the rules, and that I would be able to acknowledge people in the gallery who happen to be my great staff that have done extraordinary case work for years. As a matter of fact, I know many people would probably be shocked to hear this, but I've never had a crossword with the president. We've never had an elevated discussion in either direction. My guess is if it came from one direction, it would have ended up that way, but it never has. Matter of fact, the president has a quality to him that I find really endearing. Like when I called him out of the blue because my mom was talking about him. She's a big fan of the president. Called him out of the blue on a Saturday afternoon and picked up the phone. I said, Mr. President, would you speak to my mom? She loves you. Got on the phone, graciously spoke to her for about 5 minutes. A few months later, I was down in Florida. And I had an aunt and uncle, same thing. Called him up, same thing. He can be a gracious person. The president, though, got it wrong on, he was right in saying that I'm not running anymore. But the reason that I made the decision not to run again, Mr. President, and I decided it was just easier to do it here versus answer the countless questions out in the hallway, it's because in the moment where he and I had a disagreement, I had to make a decision about how I could be most helpful to him. And so if I ran for re-election, I would necessarily always have to think about what boundaries I should have in expressing my concern, and that creating complications for my campaign. There are red lines. There are just certain things that I would disagree with and would have to take the heat in a campaign. But I thought in the moment I would be far better equipped to give the president my advice on policy matters if I removed any doubt whatsoever that my decisions would be based upon the consequences. The night that I told it not to run for re-election, my last key protecting this president. There are people that are more concerned with their next job and the next presidential campaign that they may be able to get on than making sure that this president is as successful as possible. So I decided, by just making a decision not to run for re-election, I can speak truth to a president that I hope goes down in history as the most successful Republican president in the history of this country.
Okay, get to the point.
Greenland, an independent territory within the Kingdom of Denmark, is absurd. Somebody needs to tell the president that the people of Greenland, up until this these current times, were actually very, very pro-American and very any Fed board member until this matter is decided. Why? Well, because the whole argument about Fed independence comes into question, right?
Yeah, it does.
Created a device.
All right.
It's another
I get it.
example.
This is too boring. Okay. Okay. What else is going on? Sticks. Qs can't keep it up. Not only can the Qs not keep it up, but you've got, well, the dollar settling. It's kind of flat on the day. Figure 15. Look at it. It keeps freaking going. Holy smokes. Lone Depot. Interesting. Rocket's not keeping up. Although Rocket's been doing really well over the last few days. Wild. So, let's see what else. Wow. Look at a firm. Firm's trying to pop off a little bit. What else? Super Micro. Oh, Super Micro had a little pop today. This one's really been lagging. Let's go see the news. Super Micro. There's nothing particularly here on Super Micro, or particular other than just call volume up. Huh. Very interesting. All right. Let's just do a quick summary of what's going on here and the catalyst coming up. All right. Okie dokie. The next 2 weeks are going to be really interesting, and you should mark your calendar for the catalyst coming up. First, we're going to get some of the initial data for January to see how is the labor market actually doing. Are the Challenger and monthly ADP reports showing a rebound in December going to continue? And what is the Federal Reserve going to show us on my birthday, January 28th. Probably a big fat pause, which is pretty disappointing, but we also now have a much greater chance of getting Kevin Warsh as Fed chair, because this morning Donald Trump told us that Kevin Hassett should stay where he is. And Donald Trump essentially told us the quiet part out loud. Donald Trump said he wants his shill to stay at the NEC, the National Economic Council. Donald Trump said, quote, "I want to keep you where you are. If you want to know the truth, if I move him, these Fed guys, certainly the one we have now, they don't talk much. I would lose you. In other words, I won't have my shill." So as a result, we are now seeing the odds of Hassett becoming the Fed chairperson absolutely plummet. We went down from about a 36% chance with Kevin Warsh at 44%. Hassett now down at 16, and Warsh all the way up at 60. Waller did get a little bit of a bump, but not much. I still maintain that Waller or Myron would be the best choices, and Myron is down here at less than 1%. Now, this would be a shocker. If somebody actually played that Myron would be the choice, if you think about it, Myron would be the most vocal shill for Trump with a brain, because Myron actually uses an economic argument for why we should preempt rate cuts. And Myron's not the only one saying that. Bowman this morning came out as well and said, if we pause in January, we should be really careful about how we signal that pause, because we should be taking preemptive work on the labor market. And that's what obviously is going to make next week's weekly data, Tuesday morning, very interesting. Markets are, of course, closed on Friday, so it's a 3-day weekend. And at the same time as these next 2 weeks continue, we'll probably continue to see mortgage rates fall, which is great for real estate, but we'll also be faced with that geopolitical uncertainty, which can often create a buy the dip opportunity. More on this in just a moment. First, take a look at some of the sticks. The NASDAQ 100 is allergic to 627. Once again, we couldn't hold 627 yesterday. The Alpha report yesterday morning suggested watch at open if we reject holding 627. And if we do, wait for a retest. It's bearish. So what happened? We dropped out of 627, retest, reject, 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 like perfect rejection right here. You can't make it up. It was the easiest technical analysis. This is the stuff we point out every single day in the Alpha report. The other thing that we did is we said this morning that Figure had a good shot. If it held green for the first few minutes, it had a good shot of memeing today. Look at this. If you bought Figure even at, 9:34, 4 or 5 minutes after, you would still be up roughly 10% on the day with how much it rallied since. We bought this back at IPO at $30. It keeps going. I think probably the next 6 weeks are going to be really good to these mortgage plays. Here's another play of ours. LDI up 18%. This is a $1 billion company. It's tiny. The momentum is just beginning on these puppies. So now I do think they will settle down, because that MBS enthusiasm from Trump buying MBSs will fade probably after April. So we'll get earnings in April. Yay, wow, big refinance boom. But some of that will fade unless we get weaker jobs data. If we get stronger jobs data, it's good for the soft landing, but it does indicate that we could actually see rates move back up again, and then you'll see some of this enthusiasm for mortgage companies come down. So just be cautious in how you trade these. But I'm very excited because I've got large exposures to Rocket Mortgage, LDI, Figure, and they're killing it with course members right now. That said, remember, you could join by going to meetkevin.com and get lifetime access. Let's understand the other uncertainties that we have right now and announcements that we're going to be getting from Davos. See, Davos is coming up on the 19th. And Kevin Hassett told us this morning that Trump plans to announce 401k investment options for homes. Now, many of you might already know that you could borrow against your 401k to buy to buy real estate, to buy a home yourself, and then you don't pay the penalties that you would otherwise pay, but there are often fees involved for doing this. So Kevin Hassett is now shilling this idea of, suppose you take that 10% down, and you take that 10% equity and put it into a home. This is then really interesting, because what you do is instead of borrowing against your 401k, you're actually co-investing in your home with your 401k. And if you then go sell that property, those gains would actually be in your 401k, and deferred until you pay taxes when you start withdrawing at 59.5. Now, we don't yet know all of the details for this, but that's my sort of piecing the puzzle together here, along with the other stimulative argument that we've been seeing from Republicans. See right here, the Republicans have been pitching in the making the American dream affordable again. Proposal number 5 is establishing a home savings account to existing Trump account structure, allowing individuals to leverage other tax-advantaged savings account to make it easier than ever before for working Americans to save towards owning their first home. So this is very interesting. A lot of new options for either investing in stocks or investing in real estate, which is beneficial to both. Doesn't mean there aren't risks left in the economy, but it's worth paying attention to these. I personally think a big risk that we have right now is that we're going to end up getting a Kevin Warsh as a Fed chair. Now, The Economist thinks that the real risk right now is that with only few firms making reliable profits from artificial intelligence, there is a risk we face a credit meltdown that could rock the entire financial system and the economy more broadly. And then there are going to be companies going around picking up the pieces. Totally agree with this, by the way. But Kevin Warsh won't be a tool for helping us get out of that hole. In fact, in 2008, he made the very mistakes that we should be avoiding in a Federal Reserve. If you go to a video that it made about Kevin Warsh, you could see a full video on it. I'll show you what it's called so you could look it up yourself and you could go to the different segments of it. But the video was posted about a month ago, and it says, Trump picking Kevin Warsh for Fed chair would be a disaster. That's the title of it, so you could look up that title. But in that video, we go through and we show how Kevin Warsh, in the middle of the collapsing financial crisis of 2008, wanted to raise interest rates to save the economy. That's who Kevin Warsh is. That's the schmuck who has the greatest chance of being Fed chair right now. And I personally think one of the reasons why the NASDAQ 100 fell today, right here, was not only because of the allergy the NASDAQ 100 has against the 627 level, but because of the uncertainty of what happens if we actually get Kevin Warsh and then we end up needing to rely on the Fed. Kevin Hassett's a wet blanket. We know that. He'd just be a shill for Trump. Kevin Warsh would probably be better for credibility, but he would be bad in an emergency. You want Chris Waller. That's who you want. An economist at heart who maintains Federal Reserve credibility and stands for preempting a labor market collapse. That's how you could potentially keep kicking the can down the road of this recession, which is exactly what Trump wants. He wants to run the economy hot to, quote, forestall a recession. I say the word quote because that's exactly what Mr. Myron said. Myron tells us we want to forestall a recession. That's the MO. They're saying the quiet part out loud. They know there are recessionary impetuses, but we could stay bullish in the short term, especially on like mortgage companies, because of the current choices the federal government is making, mostly Donald Trump's stimulative actions, which we'll see more of those over the next few months. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do end up getting a reconciliation 2.0 style bill. All of that is positive and bullish, but the big test comes on Tuesday, and then with the announcement of the Fed chair. So, in addition to the chance that we're still going to see a strike against Iran by the end of the month, especially as we move our carrier strike group into the region, and as concerns grow over Greenland, understand the catalyst that we have for the next few weeks. We are catalyst heavy for the next few weeks. What do we have? Supreme Court on IEPA. This creates short-term uncertainty, right? We have Fed choice, Warsh versus Waller, right? Which would be, Waller would be good. I would say Warsh would be bad. Okay, that's my opinion. So I should make a little note that that would be my opinion. What else do we have? Weekly jobs data on Tuesday. We have the Fed pause and how they describe that pause on Jan 28th. That's, bearish and hawkish, right? This is, just uncertainty until we get it, because we don't want to just rely on government data. We want to rely on some of that private data. This right here is uncertainty, right? The Supreme Court, we already know, is uncertainty. But what else is uncertainty? Greenland is uncertainty. And then, of course, we have Iran strikes, uncertainty. Now, the bottom two are usually buy the dips, right? Generally, geopolitical stuff is a buy the dip. So right here, we would say usually buy the dip. This right here is usually buy the dip. Supreme Court on IEEPA is buy the dip. Great news if canned, if tariffs are canned, because I think in midterms, Trump's not going to do much. Waller is bearish. Waller is straight bearish, or sorry, saying this wrong. Warsh is straight bearish. And then, of course, we don't know. We'll see what happens here. But, of course, we're going to get some bearish positive. So there's plenty of a reason to see why we're not getting, enthusiasm in markets right now on all-time highs. There are plenty of uncertain catalysts. Of course, you could also argue that Venezuela is another unknown, still unknown. What's going to happen with the regime over there? Just like Iran is still an unknown. So we've got a lot of uncertainty. A lot of these things come to a head within the next 2 to 4 weeks as we get decisions, data, the Fed meeting, and then, of course, a choice by Donald Trump. So, not a surprise, we're not seeing deals here. Now, there are deals on other stocks. I mean, if you actually look, people are like, oh, Kevin, stocks are at all-time highs. I don't like Microsoft. I don't own Microsoft, but understand that Microsoft is about to hit a 52-week low. If we fall down over here to 428 and we hold that for a couple more months, we're going to be at 52-week lows on Microsoft. And this company prints frickin' cash. It's crazy. Again, I don't own them, so I'm not trying to shill them. I tell you when I own stuff because I want to be as transparent as I can. But, the market has almost kind of priced perfection back here when we were in the midst of the rate cutting cycle. And this is the problem. The market loves getting rate cuts. That's when we hit all-time highs. But we're about to go into a cycle of no rate cuts. So this is what I call cautious optimism, right? This is why I'm at a 6 on Bear Bull. I'm cautiously optimistic. Most issues above will create short-term dip buy opportunities. Warsh is a longer-term issue, a longer-term red flag, canary in the coal mine, along with, OpenAI overspending. Those are long-term issues. Right? But most of the stuff up here is just short-term drama, which creates opportunities. Now, we have a 3-day weekend coming up. And then we're going to be walking into, of course, the other catalyst, which is going to be at the end of the month. We're going to have another massive price increase on both the Meet Kevin Alpha report. That's where you can see my fundamental analysis on individual stocks. We do this every day the market is open, but also the ReInvestAI with our valuation AI now in progress. And that's going to be a really big game changer. So I'm very, very excited about that because this is going to allow us to value every property in the United States that's on the market and tell you where you can get the most net worth anywhere in the country with the snap of a finger. Really an incredible product. We need to stop selling the lifetime membership for this because I think people are going to be very willing to pay monthly for this or, quarterly or whatever we decide to do. So that gives you a breakdown roughly of what's going on in markets right now. You do have, some yapping, like miscellaneous yapping, like Ashley St. Clair is suing Elon Musk. This is not a surprise for sort of the declothing pictures. The lawsuits take years to litigate anyway. OpenAI and Microsoft don't get dismissal on the early phase of the case that Elon Musk has against them for OpenAI becoming a profit company, essentially, a for-profit. So that'll take years more to litigate. We've got Bitmine Immersion throwing $200 million into MrBeast and Beast, Industries. But, they just raised $7.6 billion in stock, which is an amazing offering that Tom Lee pulled off here. In fairness, they're down about $3 billion on their Ethereum purchases. They were down as much as $5 billion, so they're actually up from the hole. See, here's the $5.2 billion they took in unrealized losses. They're actually up to now only like a $3 billion loss. It's still a lot, but $200 million is really a rounding error. But a lot of people were pretty upset with the presentation that Tom Lee gave, because it was really like, yeah, Mr. Beast is popular, right? You might think we've gone off the rails, but he's popular, right? I hate to summarize it like that, but that's really what I saw of the conference felt like. Of course, you get more uncertainty around the Federal Reserve here from people like Mr. Tillis, who argue that, hey, we're not going to confirm any Fed chair choice from Donald Trump until we stop these inquiries into the Federal Reserve, which, you know, Pyro's staff apparently sent emails to the Federal Reserve saying, hey, let's hop on a call. And the Fed is like, this is unprofessional. We don't want to talk to the DOJ if they're talking to us like this. So the Fed just purposefully ignored them. We low-keyed it, they say. And then, of course, you know, they ended up coming out with their subpoena because they felt ignored. All this is just drama and uncertainty in the short term. Big key now is, how do we get through the labor market in the face of all of these uncertainties? Labor keeps holding up the way it has been in December. These are all clear buy the dip opportunities. January is layoff month, though. So we'll have to see how much we get in January in terms of layoffs, just because, you know, obviously you're going to get seasonal layoffs, which does indicate we'll have some really fat seasonal adjustments. And so if we go negative beyond the seasonal adjustments, that's where the problem comes from. You know, Greenland, I personally see this as not much of an issue, because I think Donald Trump is mostly bluffing on all of this. And he's doing it because he's trying to negotiate. He'll end up negotiating some kind of lease of some kind of edge of land along northern Greenland. Greenlanders will make a bunch of money. Greenlanders will still own Greenland. And everything will be fine. But all the drama in the meantime, like these threats of tariffs and stuff against countries that don't go along with the Greenland takeover, I think that's just part of Donald Trump's chaos theory and his negotiating. So that's my take on what's going on in the world today. Hopefully that's useful to you. Remember to go to meetkevin.com to check out the Alpha membership, and go to househack.com or reinvest.co to check out ReInvestAI. Thanks so much for being here, folks, and we'll see you in the next one.